Okay, so I just got finished about 40 minutes ago. It was over about 40 minutes ago, and I just watched King of the Nerds on TBS. This show is fucking stupid. Um, is nerdsploitation a thing? Is that a new thing that's happening right now? Nerdsploitation, and because you have shows like The Big Bang Theory, and I mean, going back, they've always kind of tried to portray these things to focus on geek and nerd culture. I really don't think it works. And this show is pretty blatant in that regard. And it starts off with this girl. I just right off. I took notes on this thing. Right off the bat, they start out by going through all these different girls, and one of them was, she thinks the nerdiest thing she can do is recite pi. And I knew more digits of pi than her. She kind of threw me off because she truncated it at 8 when it's 7-9. And she went 3.14159265358988. But then it's 89799323844626. And I guess that just, yeah, that's pretty impressive to go that far. But I guess it just threw me off that she decided to truncate it right there. So I was like, wait, was she wrong? No, she just rounded it up. So they bring in these contestants. There's 11 of them. I don't know why they pick an odd number, but we'll get into that later. And they put them in this building called Nerdvana, which is apparently gaming heaven because they have video games, and they have a room that's got a Radio Shack logo, and it's got a pegboard with a bunch of little electronic stuff and a whiteboard. I'm sure they're going to get plenty of use out of that damn thing. And of course they have the Throne of Games, which is like the Game of Thrones throne, but it's the Throne of Games throne. I don't know what the difference is. It's just a big plush throne with kind of a bucket seat and like fuzzy plush or whatever it be, velvet. I don't know what it's made of. Maybe it's felt, maybe it's velvet. It's just a throne that supposedly they get to sit in if they win, because they're going to be the king of nerds. So they introduce all these characters, and call me crazy. The character Brandon, does he not look exactly like Rue from Clan of the Grey Wolf? He looks exactly like Rue. It's ridiculous. I had to just keep reminding us, that's Brandon. His name is Brandon. And I wanted to hate this guy because he wears a bow tie. He comes out, he's wearing a damn bow tie. But he's actually pretty cool. He's actually a pretty cool guy. The guy I did hate, what was his fucking name? Virgil. Fucking Virgil. Holy shit, this guy is like the epitome of egotistical nerd asshole. He's one of the oldest guys there. I think he's like 28. One of the youngest is, I think, 24, 23. He's a microbiologist. Holy crap, at age 24, he's a microbiologist. But this Virgil, he's 28, he's a self-proclaimed master hacker. So he almost reminds me of that guy from Hackers, Zero Cool. He later on to become Crash Override, I guess. Hackers, another kind of nerdsploitation movie. But Virgil, this is like the epitome of, like, I'm going to make a reference that you're not going to understand, you plebeian. You're such a... It is not quite that obvious, but he reminds me of it. It's like, he tried to brag that he was a master hacker, that he was covered in like the New York Times or Newsday. Is USA Newsday's from Everybody Loves Raymond. I'm mixing fantasy and reality now. But he said that he was covered in the newspaper. They were talking about this master hacker, and everybody's like, "Well, if they have your name, then you weren't really a master hacker, will you? Master hackers are supposed to not be noticed, not be recognized." It's like, well, I guess that's kind of a catch-22. You get do all this great stuff, but you never get recognition for it. But this guy's he wasn't voted off this time. But this guy's, I have a feeling this guy's gonna be a dick throughout the whole series. What else do they have? They brought up this girl that is a professional. She's a pro gamer, and their representation of pro video games is by shooting lasers at the screen and saying "Game over." When in the last 20 years has that ever been a representation of video games? It's almost a microcosm of everything that's wrong with this show. The producers think that everything about nerd culture is still stuck back in like the 1980s. So everything is all video games and pixelated and robots and like the 1960s, 1950s robots that are all boxy and like made a box made out of. I'm fooling with my hair right now, but you know what I'm saying. They think that what's nerdy now was nerdy from the 1980s, and these guys are my age. They would recognize that kind of stuff. But pro gaming, it's not those kind of games. It's Call of Duty, it's StarCraft, it's well, not so much StarCraft now, but StarCraft 2 is Call of Duty, the first-person shooters. And I'm sure there's like Professional Team Fortress. There's fighting games. They don't even say what type of professional gamer she is. Maybe she's sort of a jack of all trades, but they don't really say what any of her awards are or what competition she's been in, what her gaming forte is. But she's like the one. She's like the one main. She's one of the two professional gamers in the group. So what they start off, they have the 11 players and they have them go off into teams. So immediately they're kind of pushing this home that this was just like when you were in elementary school and you were supposed to be picked up for teams at the gym, but this time, or teams during PE, but this time it's nerdy stuff. So they set them up and they pick their two teams. They pick the two team captains, and then they go out and they have to talk to each other they have about 3 hours to talk to each other, get to know each other, and then they go out and they pick their teams. And the colors they pick, one guy described, they said it was paint, but one guy described it as cornstarch and water, which, I don't know if you guys know it, but it goes by different names, and here we call it oobleck. It's sort of that non-Newtonian thing that it runs if you don't put any pressure to it, but when you hit it, it stays solid. And they dyed those purple and, no, not purple, they dyed them orange and blue. And I honestly think that that's a Portal reference. Because if you listen to the music in that scene, it sounds like the background music sounds almost like something out of Portal. And I'm pretty damn sure that that was a Portal reference. One of the guys, Joshua, when they were interviewing him, he actually did the Jedi mind thing. He's like, I will be picked for the team. He's like, fuck you, Joshua. You're doing that in the confessional after you already knew everything that happened. I know how these damn games work. You're doing that to the audience. They probably asked you to play that stuff up because there's a shot of them earlier where they're playing the Kinect. And you know no nerd is ever going to play the fucking Kinect. Angry Joe likes it, whatever. Nope. The only Kinect games are dancing games and fitness games. They're not doing anything good with it. Steel Battalion is fucking failing. They're not doing anything cool with Kinect. So they just have this. They probably just asked this guy, "Hey, go up on the Kinect and dance like a dork." And so, because yeah, he's up there and he's dancing. I think that was Brandon. I think it was Brandon or one of the other guys. I think it was the one that looked like Rue. That would have been Brandon, right? Yeah, Virgil is a total egotistical prick. He's the kind of guy that you go into a gaming store and he's like, I want to buy Final Fantasy 3. And he's like, you don't realize that Final Fantasy 3 is actually the Japanese Final Fantasy 6. So what you're really asking for is Final Fantasy 6. And but when they actually are asking about the Famicom Final Fantasy 3, he's just that same kind of egotistical asshole that I know he's either going to. I kind of want to see what happens because I know they're going to hate him in later episodes. I really want to see where things go with him. And John is kind of like a heavy metal guy. He's definitely like a heavy metal guy. He's always doing like these metal screams, like yeah. And I forget what his definition was or what his specialty was. I think he was just kind of like a comic book geek. What else do I have in here? Oh yeah, so they end up picking the teams, and of course since there's 11, one of them doesn't get picked. And I saw this twist coming from the beginning. because I knew what one of them wouldn't get picked, and they are thinking that the one who doesn't get picked is sent home. No, the one who doesn't get picked ends up getting immunity. I actually tweeted this, that I saw this coming. I knew that this was happening as soon as they announced that they were going to split into teams of 5 and there were only 11 people. And I'm like, whoever they don't pick is going to end up getting immunity, because that's the exact kind of twist that they would do. That's the exact kind of twist that a game like this would do. And so it does end up getting immunity, because the girl that didn't get picked, they were trying to edit it to make it look like she was an idiot. That she didn't know what she was talking about. It's like, so what's your specialty? Well, I like mythology. You know, like the gods. Like, I know a lot about the Norse gods and they do it like 4 times. They just cut between different things and put the audio over it. I know what you're doing, reality show guys. I know what you're editing up to. So, because you couldn't think of a different pantheon of gods. I would be horrible on a show like this, because I'm always stumbling for my words. They would edit me to be some kind of an idiot. I'm having trouble reading. But yeah, she ends up getting immunity, and the team, the orange team and the blue team, I figured that they're going to put them in a competition against each other, like a team versus team, and then the loser of that would end up going to elimination. No, what they end up doing, they just make the girl who wasn't picked, they choose which team she thinks is the strongest one. So she ends up picking the orange team, and then she ends up getting put on the blue team. I don't know why, but so she's put on the loser's team, because the blue team now has to go to elimination. They have to pick 2 of their members to go to what they call the Nerd War. Or no, the Nerd Off. Yeah, they call it the Nerd Off. And I just thought that they would have some sort of a competition. I guess they were pushing against the upper limit of an hour episode, but I've seen them do stuff like this on, like, Who Wants to Be a Superhero. They would have the team competition and then the elimination competition. But, I guess they didn't have me writing that stuff, but, and then as they're trying to get everything together, they're trying to get their teams together, and one of them goes, Laktar Oga! And then, of course, she adds, that's victory or death in Orcish. Really? You had to explain that to the geeks! I'm sure they fucking knew what that was! She's like, yeah, that's a World of Warcraft reference. Get it? Because we're nerdy! And later on, the guys, they're sitting around the table, and the guy's like, Captain's Log, Stardate 2012. I was like, just expecting him to go, see, that's a Star Trek reference. It's this kind of stuff that they're kind of pushing in your face. See, we're nerdy. We have stuff. We have a Mario perler. It's not the regular Mario, but Mario from Super Mario Bros. 2. We're nerdy, see? It's like, I have lots of black friends. We know about nerdy stuff. So they just have her decide which team would end up being put together after 3 hours of meeting these people, and she had to decide which one was better. So she decided the orange team was better, so that team gets immunity, and she has immunity on the blue team. She can't be sent to the competition. So they end up picking this one guy who actually volunteered to go, and they end up picking, and then the orange team ends up picking the other one. They thought they were going to pick the gamer girl, because if they lose the gamer girl, then they are at a disadvantage when it comes to video games, which is actually a pretty damn good strategy. But they end up picking this other guy, I don't know, Hendrik and John, the metalhead dude. He's got, like, pink hair. And the competition is chess. They end up competing in chess together, which is like, okay, geeks, nerds, they play chess. Okay. Neither of them know how to play chess. They all know, but they're novices at it. They never like had any challenge. They never really did anything with it. The only person who actually knew how to play chess was the girl who had immunity. And so she ends up coaching one of them. She ends up coaching Hendrik, the guy who volunteered to go, because she was on the chess team in high school or something. So they end up going together, and the chess game, I was actually curious how they would do this, whether they would have graphics on the side or something. But no, they bring them outside to the front of Nerdvana, which is their I don't know if I said that before, but that's this complex that they're living in. And they have this human-sized chessboard set up. And I'm thinking, are they going to have the other teams playing as the pieces? But no, they just have the pieces laid out there, giant human-sized pieces, black and white. And obviously black and white, what else would it be? It was chess. And then they bring out this girl that, one of them pretty much described it perfectly. She's a stripper cat girl. Just like this really big pink hair. She looks like something out of a JRPG or something. And so she's out there to move the pieces around based on their orders. And then they have another dude who's dressed kind of like a guy out of 300. He's got like a Spartan and the other... And she's moving around the white team. Then the other guys are like, is she going to be moving our pieces around? Or are we going to get the Spartan guy to move our pieces around? But no, she ends up doing both. Then they reveal what the Spartan guy's for once they capture their first piece. It was a pawn takes a pawn. I think it was like 3 turns in. They put the piece over to the side, and the Spartan guy is like, "Rah!" and he decapitates the other piece. And this like red confetti goes everywhere, and so it's kind of like blood. It's like, there's going to be blood all over this battlefield. And like, yeah, it was stupid, but that was actually kind of a neat way to get rid of the pieces. That was actually kind of fun. But then, of course, they bring out this stripper cat girl who has nothing to do with anything. I mean, she's not even dressed like geek or fantasy. I mean, if she was like kind of a fantasy princess moving around the pieces, that would work because chess, medieval warfare, whatever. But no, she's like this. They said stripper cat girl. I didn't even see any cat girl ears on. I didn't see a tail or anything. But she's just kind of this. I don't know what to describe her as. She's just kind of this poofy-haired girl that's moving stuff around. So, why? Why have her there? I know they're trying to put in, and of course I know why they're trying to put in the cat girl is for TNA. You can't see anything. She's not even that well built. She's geeky. She's just like everybody else. But she's just kind of trying to appeal to that kind of crowd who's goes in for the more demure types of girls like that, who like dressing up like cat girls. Or doesn't even look like a fucking cat girl. I don't know why they're saying cat girl stripper, but so and they cut out most of the game. They cut to commercial, and by the end they cut out like, I don't know, 10 minutes of the game or something. And by the end they just have the queen moves into the corner, so you don't even see a full layout of the board. So you can kind of follow it if you know chess really well. I know chess okay. I suck. I probably am as good as one of these other guys that were playing though. But I still would have liked to get an overview of what the board looked like. And of course they cut out a couple minutes so you don't know the middle of it, and they just one of them ends up moving his pawn in the wrong position. The queen ends up taking it, and now he can reach the king and rook because he had castled earlier, which they didn't show. You just have to assume that they ended up doing that. So they end up checkmating him, and Hendrik ends up losing. The one who had the only girl who knew how to play chess, the only other person who knew how to play chess, coaching him, and he ended up losing. So, yeah, great playing right there. So that was basically the competition. He ends up losing, so he's gone. And they had these kind of posters, like superhero posters of each of them. Like one of them's kind of like a mad scientist with a brain in a jar. Another one's kind of like a Spartan or a fantasy warrior. And they have these like comic book things, like put these posters on the wall in the main foyer. I kind of wish I could get something of myself on that so I could put up on the wall. Those actually look pretty damn cool. But then when the guy ended up losing, they have it fade out, and it's like game over for him. But then he ends up walking down the street, and then the two hosts, which I didn't even fucking talk about the two hosts. God, let me go back. The two hosts were Curtis Armstrong and Bobby Carradine. Who? I had to look these guys up on IMDb. Apparently they were the two main characters in Revenge of the Nerds. Because yeah, that's a timely reference. When was the most recent Revenge of the Nerds movie? That was 1994. Nobody watching this damn show, unless you're in the age group of these people, is going to remember Revenge of the Nerds. Barely. I've only seen the first one, and that was years ago. That was during like Foxorama or something. If anybody remembers Foxorama, message me, because I want to talk to you about it. But yeah, Bobby Carradine and Curtis Armstrong. Who? I know they've been in a lot of stuff recently. They were on, like, iCarly and Lizzie McGuire and other stuff like that. But it's like, I guess these are the cheapest nerd actors that they could get. I mean, they couldn't get, like, Bill Nye, Ben Stein. They got all kinds of other stuff coming on later as, like, guests. They're going to have, like, George Takei on the next episode. I think I saw some shots with Kevin Smith. So they're going to have more nerdy guys as judges, but the main hosts, I don't know who the fuck these people are. I know they're kind of famous actors, but they mean nothing to me. But apparently they got the people that recognize them from Revenge of the Nerds. Apparently this is like a catharsis for them to finally get revenge. Like, we're being praised today because we were always picked last in school and picked on, but now we're rich. And again, it's pandering. It's pandering to the nerd subculture that is like, you were picked on in college, but now you're doing great. You're a millionaire. You're Mark Zuckerberg, the youngest billionaire ever. They made references to him in the intro. It's like, nerd culture has been dominated for centuries, but now the nerds are fighting back. It's just pandering. It's more pandering than even the Big Bang Theory. And I actually like the Big Bang Theory. Although I've heard apparently that most of the main characters on that don't actually know the nerd stuff they're talking about. I'm pretty sure Jim Parsons knows, though. But yeah, then when Kendrick walks off, they shoot him with a laser and he blows up. It's the stupidest effect. It's something I would do. Honestly, I know Spoonie says that kind of stuff, but yeah, I could do that. Give me the stock footage and give me the stock footage of an explosion and a laser gun. I could do that effect. It was so stupid, and it meant nothing because they already had his picture fade away into game over, and that's what they ended the episode on. That would have been a much more appropriate ending. Just his picture fades away and game over for him. But no, they had to blow him up with a laser because, hey, it's not geeks without explosions, because geeks love explosions. No, morons love explosions. People who like Michael Bay like explosions and fighting and shit. But no, geeks and nerds, they like intelligent stuff. And yet, a lot of these guys are intelligent. Some of them are like microbiology. One of them's a mathematician. Then some of them are just comic books and gaming nerds. One of them runs a gaming blog. That's her claim to fame. She's a gaming blogger. It says that under her name. Yeah, Danielle, video game blogger. So what my thoughts on King of the Nerds? I'm gonna try to keep watching this show, but because it was entertaining. I kind of liked seeing. Well, hell, I liked watching Top Shot because I liked seeing what the competitions were. But if you want a show that's more intellectual, this is not it. This is not an intellectual game. This is not an intellectual nerdy show. It has a lot of nerdy references. I mean, they play chess, they have the video games, they have them playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl at one point, because, yeah, although they're not serious about Brawl, because they're playing it with the Wiimote turned to the side. Sorry, Wii Remote. That's the official accepted way of saying it. Wiimote is actually not an officially recognized Nintendo term, but that's neither here nor there. But they're playing it with the Wii Remote turned to the side, so they're obviously not Super Smash Brothers. They're obviously not Super Smash Brothers fans. They play it, but they don't really know it too well. But yeah, this show is going to be pretty. I guess it was entertaining, but this is really pandering. This is a really pandering show. So I guess I watched the next episode. Maybe I'll do another one of these. This was kind of fun ranting about this shit. But yeah, King of the Nerds. I guess check it out if you want to see how bad nerd pandering can get. How bad you can get nerdsploitation. I want to see what Virgil ends up doing later on, because I think Virgil's going to be either a lovable asshole or you're going to want to see him go. I think I'm going to want to see him go, but I still want to see what kind of shit he'll pull. He's going to be an interesting character. He's not going to be boring, definitely. I'm actually kind of rooting for Brandon at this point, the guy who looks like Rue, so Go Brandon. You're my pick. Sure, go ahead. Take care, everybody. God damn.